Northern Ireland Assembly, Committee Room 30.
And I welcome all members to our last meeting of the Executive Office Committee and of this mandate. Joining us today at the meeting in the meeting room is Trevor Lunn, Pat Sheehan and myself, and joining us remotely this afternoon is Alex Easton, John Stewart and Corrig Delargy. The committee meeting will be recorded and broadcast through our Parliament buildings and online. Members, if you're content to proceed through the agenda, the first item on the agenda is apologies, and I haven't received any to date. Chairperson's business. I have a number of...
Sorry, Sinead, Emma Sheeran said she will be late. So,
okay.
But she's hoping to be here at some stage.
Perfect. Okay, I have a number of items to raise under Chair's business. Members, the Fair Employment Schools Teachers Bill passed further consideration stage on Monday, the 21st of March. The final stage of the bill is scheduled to take place tomorrow, Thursday, the 24th of March. For your information, members, unfortunately the Emergency Exceptional Circumstances, Energy Prices and Other Contingencies Bill got turned down yesterday as it did not pass pre-introduction checks by the Speaker, and therefore will not be proceeding, which is unfortunate as families really want to see that money unlocked. Third item of Chair's business, I want to raise the issue of the Nationality and Borders Bill. It made its way back from the House of Lords to the House of Commons yesterday, and the amendment to protect the common travel area in particularly that was placed in amendments by Margaret Ritchie has subsequently been overturned by the House of Commons because they had voted now to reinstate it, the requirement for the electronic travel authorisations to apply in Northern Ireland. Look, this is really another serious issue that is going to affect everybody in Northern Ireland. It will cause serious problems here, both in relation to the tourism sector and also for cross-border workers who live in the south but are non-EU nationality. I propose that we write to the UK and Irish governments just to express our strong unhappiness with this. And try and explain the profound potential impacts for our economy and the freedom of movement on this island. Again, this seems to be a bill that has not been game planned out on the impact that it will have in the ordinary day life of people that live on this island, and it's really regrettable. I mean, I know when there was changes in legislation and requirements during the pandemic and for travelling, for example, people just chose not to come north because of the differentiation, and that's going to happen if there's changes for visitors coming in here as well. So it hasn't really been clearly thought out. And in addition, to writing to the UK and Irish governments, I also think that we have to write to the Secretary of State as well. If members are happy for us to do that, we can get that done by close of business today.
Happy with that, yeah.
Happy with that, yeah.
Okay. So item number 3 under Chair's business, it's in relation to Queen's University. Last week's meeting, the committee agreed to write to Queen's University School of Medicine to urge them to provide a response in relation to the initial correspondence sent by the committee regarding the acquisition of bodies from institutions identified in research on mother and baby homes. A response, as you will see, has now been received from Queen's, and I would refer members to pages 3 to 7 on the table pack for the relevant papers. For your information, members, the letter relates to the recognition of the sensitivity of the issue, the historical legal framework for the acquisition of bodies for anatomical study. The payment for donated bodies was only made for transport costs, the sparse nature of surviving records and the lack of records from the donating institutions themselves. The offer for any individual wishing to trace family members can approach the School of Medicine for access to information from what records survive. Can I refer members to pages 8 to 9 of the table pack for the relevant papers? Members, last week we discussed at the committee that we were calling for an independent investigation into the circumstances of the historical acquisition of bodies for anatomical study through a press release. As you're aware, this issue is actually much wider than the acquisition of bodies from named institutions in research associated with mother and babies' homes. And the Legacy Report actually recommends the Successor Committee takes this issue forward in conjunction with the Successor Health Committee. So can I seek members' agreement to issue the draft press release as distributed? Was everybody happy with the contents of that?
Is that the one on page 8, Sinead?
Yeah.
With table papers?
It was,
Yep.
yeah, it was sent out again today, earlier on today, yeah.
I'm still trying to find it. Right? Yeah.
In your table docs.
Is there any precedent for this? I mean, I'm not familiar with this sort of procedure at all.
Well, I mean, we've had several meetings with Queen's, and really the information that they've sent us back, the letter that they've sent us back was really just putting in writing what they told us at the meetings in relation to their records and the retrieval of records. So we've now received the information in writing.
Yeah.
So we're responding through a press release and then leaving it as part of the legacy of the next committee to look at, because we want to make sure that those records are also preserved and that those who want to have access to them can have access to them.
I still wonder if places of learning wanted to obtain bodies or corpses for anatomical research. Is this a fairly normal thing, or is it? It is, yeah.
Oh, absolutely.
But with the permission of those behind.
There's lots of,
This
for medical research,
there's
donating your
really
body.
no permission in this case. It's worse.
Sinead, just in terms of we've talked about the Magdalen laundries and the mother and baby homes. It was raised with me during the week that workhouses are also places. Could we mention that in the press release? Just fit that in somewhere?
Well, I think we should actually.
Right.
We haven't actually in the press release mentioned any of the institutions by name or any of the educational institutions by name. But if
Oh, right, sorry, it's just in the preamble to that, is it? Yeah. No, it's in the, it mentions the mother and baby homes and Magdalen laundries.
We can add in workhouses.
yeah, we can add in
Right.
workhouses as well
Workhouses.
then. Yeah. And can I also seek your agreement that we write to the Human Tissue Authority to provide a background to the situation and advise them that the Successor Committee may wish to take advice from them at a later date?
Sure.
Okay. Item number 3 on the agenda. Members, the draft minutes of the meeting held on the 16th of March are at pages 6 to 11 of the meeting pack. If you're content with the content as a true reflection of the proceedings of the meeting, I'm happy to sign.
Content?
Okay.
Yeah.
Item number 4, matters arising. Members, the committee had a briefing from the EU Affairs Manager at last week's meeting. Responses to members' queries from this briefing can be found at pages 13 of the meeting pack. And also worthy of note as well, last week members discussed a number of GB businesses that have ceased trading with Northern Ireland since UK exit. The EU Affairs Manager has approached the Consumer Council for information, and the Consumer Council has asked that the committee formally writes to seek information in relation to the businesses. So can I seek members' agreement to write to the Consumer Council to ask how many GB businesses have ceased trading with Northern Ireland since the UK exit from the EU?
Yeah. Could you differentiate between companies who have formally ceased trading over here and those who have temporarily because of particular problems with transport and supply?
We can ask both. We can ask for both. Okay.
I haven't actually heard of many who have, refused to trade permanently with Northern Ireland, to be honest.
Item number 2 of matters arising. There are 40 items of outstanding correspondence to the committee for the year 2021 to 2022. Can I refer members to pages 38 to 39 of the table for relevant papers? Members, any outstanding correspondence and any correspondence received after today's meeting will be passed on to the successor committee. Also, members, can I remind you that the committee agreed to invite the junior ministers to brief members on the work that they have been undertaking since the resignation of the First Minister. And can I refer members to pages 16 to 20 of the meeting pack for the relevant papers? Members, the response from the Permanent Secretary details how they are unable to do so under the current circumstances. Members of the committee agreed at last week's meeting to invite the head of the Northern Ireland Civil Service to brief members on the department's arrangements for welcoming Ukrainian refugees. Can I refer members to pages 3 to 32 of the table pack? This request was also declined from the department. However, a written briefing has been provided setting out the Executive Office plan to support Ukrainian refugees. I am disappointed that we don't have the head of the Civil Service here giving us a direct verbal briefing. And it is the committee's view that while the reasons for the officials not to come before the committee are definitely understood, in the name of effective scrutiny, officials should attend the committee when invited to do so. There has been insufficient time left in the mandate to initiate a formal process to compel officials to attend, but it is a recommendation to the successor committee in the legacy report that should similar circumstances arise in the future, the process to compel should be initiated. The Northern Ireland Act remains supreme to any departmental guidance or indeed any interpretation of such. And I think, that is a really important issue that we must address in the next mandate. To leave a committee without any scrutiny is shamefully weak and bad governance and bad government on all of us. So, having said that, despite the recent difficulties relating to attendance, the committee's experience with working with officials from the department has been really positive throughout. And I want to place on record my thanks to, on behalf of the committee, to the work and the engagement by those officials that have come to this committee week after week and helped support us in our scrutiny work. Maybe not in the last few weeks, but prior to that. And I want to particularly pay compliments to the Departmental Assembly Liaison section for its significant but usually under-recognised contribution to the work of the committee also. Item number 5 in the agenda is the legacy report, which is a report on 2017 to 2022, consideration of the draft report. Can I refer members to pages 22 to 49 of the meeting pack for the relevant papers? Members, additional comment on the programme for government and the New Decade New Approach has now been added to the final report. There's another item or another matter which I believe I might suggest to the committee, if they were happy enough, that we could consider adding as well, and that is the Northern Ireland Audit Office report on lessons learned from our RHI. Whilst I recognise it's not really the primary concern of this committee, and perhaps maybe other committees would have more to do with it, but I personally believe that it is appropriate that the Executive Office considers, and our successive committee considers what the TEO has learnt and whether it believes that the Audit Office criticisms apply to the department. So if members are happy, can I ask that this is added to the final report also? Members, you're aware that the financial information cannot be finalised until the last meeting has taken place today. So members, if you are content with the final legacy report to be published once the final financial information is added to the appendices report, we can get that signed off as our last item of business in that aspect. Okay. Right, forward work programme. Members, the forward work programme for the committee will be compiled following a successor committee for the executive office being established. Item number 7, correspondence. Members, there are 6 items of correspondence at pages 51 to 103 in the pack, and 7 items in pages 40 to 135 or 134, sorry, in the table pack. The first item is 7.1, the Joseph Rowntree Foundation report, Poverty in Northern Ireland. This is a very stark report for all public representatives to read. It shows just the level of poverty throughout Northern Ireland, and it shows, unfortunately and regrettably, that my constituency of Foyle has the worst poverty in the north, and that poverty levels are related to the employment rate and also to low pay. And that is exactly why I suppose most representatives and most politicians are in politics for, is to make life better for people. And we have a long, long way to go in that when you read that report. And if you layer that report on top of what we're currently seeing in relation to high inflation rates, highest ever in 30 years, cost of living soaring, it's a very stark reminder of the level of support our communities and families need at this particular time. And I know over the next few months and perhaps before any politicians are restored back into this assembly, many more families will face that destitution of poverty. And I've listened to the Chancellor today in relation to his budget, and it's no comfort for many in relation to some of if a 5 pence cut in fuel duty is not going to rocket for many, many families. He has raised the threshold in relation to the paying of national insurance. It will help some, but it won't help all. And we were expecting and hoping for a lot more than that, and it hasn't come. And just I feel that it's important to actually say that before we leave this mandate. That Joseph Rowntree Foundation report is stark, and the poverty levels in Northern Ireland are among the highest in these islands.
The national insurance one's a big eye-catching thing, but it doesn't make any difference to pensioners. You know?
There was so much more that could have been done and hasn't been done.
Well, I suppose it's no surprise. I mean, this Tory government has a track record in caring little about those, in poverty or on the breadline, workers on low incomes and so on. So it just doesn't surprise me one bit that they haven't taken any substantial moves to help alleviate the poverty that's existing in society at the minute. It's disgraceful in my view.
Okay. Item 7.2, the Northern Ireland Office press release. Secretary of State announces additional funding for International Fund for Ireland. That was announced during his visit to America. 7.3, the Executive Office, Ukrainian conflict and related refugee crisis. Members, there were 75 consultation responses received for the refugee integration strategy, and this will now be analysed by the department. 7.4, Truth Recovery NI Mother and Baby homes as dealt with under the Chair's business. 7.5, the draft press release on the Queen's University School of Medicine, and again we have dealt with that as well. 7.6, a letter from the Rosetta Trust Historical Institute abuse apology. Just on that letter, can I just place on record, and I'm sure I speak for all of the committee members, is our appreciation of the engagement of victim and survivor groups to this committee. It has been a privilege to work with all of them, and I sincerely hope that their continued journey does not falter in any way, and that they receive all the support, all the truth, all the justice, transparency and recompense that they deserve.
Here.
7.7, Finance Minister Response UK Community Renewal Fund. 7.8, Rachel Woods, MLA, call for views on the equally safe strategy and domestic abuse strategy. Members, the clerk has engaged with the department on this issue and has been assured that written contributions have been received and are being considered as part of the consultation. This includes specific submissions of which the chair was made aware of by members of the Women Policy Group. Myself. I'm talking about myself in the third person now. Good. Members, with your agreement, can I write to Rachel Woods, MLA, informing her of the committee stakeholder event feedback on the 24th of March, which was sent to the Department and the Justice and Health Committees, and advising that the Department has assured the committee that written submissions have been received and are being considered as consultation responses. 7.9, the Executive Office Response Feminist Recovery Plan. 7.10, EU Affairs Manager, EU Proposals on Medicine. Members of the committee wrote to the Minister for Health on this issue last week, as you recall. 7.11, EU Affairs Manager's 14th European Union Withdrawal Act and Common Framework Strategy. 7.12, EU Affairs Manager Memo and Report from the Subcommittee on the Protocol on Ireland, Northern Ireland, scrutiny of EU legislation proposals within the scope of the Protocol on Ireland, Northern Ireland. Members, the report examines the scrutiny of the EU legislation applying to Northern Ireland under the Protocol. And 7.13, the Welsh Parliament Legislation, Justice and Constitution Committee, first meeting of the Interministerial Standing Committee, the 23rd of March 2022. If members are content to note the rest of the correspondence. Okay. So item number 7, any other business. Members, as this is our last meeting before the dissolution of the Assembly on the 28th of March, can I take a moment just to thank all of the members of the committee for your contribution, your due diligence and your support. To those that are standing for election, can I wish you all the best of luck in the coming weeks. And to Trevor Lunn, who is escaping after many years of public service, can I especially wish you a long, happy and healthy retirement.
Thank you, Chair.
Okay. And finally, can I give my heartfelt thanks on behalf of all the committee members, to all of the committee staff, to Michael, to Sarah Ann, to Alison and to Christopher for all your support and help throughout the course of this mandate and this committee, and particularly supporting me as well, coming in here very much a greenhorn and having to be handheld the whole way, but I really, really appreciate it. Every single one of you have been absolutely sterling, and it has been difficult. It has been a difficult mandate, because, you know, we were all forced into working in different methods and ensuring good scrutiny as well. And so you've really walked the mile with us and beyond. So thank you. We are very grateful. And finally, oh, no, not finally, John Stewart has his hand raised.
Me too.
Yeah. Chair, can you hear me okay?
Yes.
Yeah. Sorry, it's taken me a while to get in. I've had a few technical difficulties. I just wanted to echo the words that you said there as we come to the end of the mandate here, and to pay tribute to yourself for your work in the chair, and to your predecessor, Colin McGrath, as well, who had the privilege of being able to work with. I think it's been a really productive committee, and I think we've all worked very well together. So I just want to wish everyone who's standing in the best of elections, and wish Trevor a long and happy retirement, and thank Michael and all the team as well for all their efforts. It's been a pleasure working with you all, and hopefully we'll see many be back in after the election. Fingers crossed.
Okay. Trevor, sorry, I'm going to bring Trevor in.
Yeah, thanks, Chair. Well, thanks for your good wishes, both of you. It's about time I did retire, to get in the age where it's probably not profitable to be here, really. I'd like to thank yourself and your predecessor, Colin, for the way you've chaired the committee. It's been a good committee to sit on. And I'd like to thank all my fellow committee members on the same basis, because they've been easy to work with most of the time. Obviously, you have political differences once in a while, but really it's been good that way. I can thank Michael in particular, and his willing team for all the work they've done for us. And like others have said, I wish everybody a measure of success in the election coming up. I hope that everybody gets the votes that they deserve. And I really do hope, not to go off on a tangent, that it takes us somewhere and that we actually manage to form a government and an executive when we come back. So I don't think that the public will forgive again if we don't, or you don't. So I'll watch with interest from the sidelines. Thank you, Chair.
Okay, thank you. And
Could I just come in
Yes.
for a second?
Yes,
And just to echo the comments, to thank Michael and the rest of the staff for the work they've done throughout the year, and to yourself, Sinead, for the professional way you have chaired this committee. It has run very smoothly, as it did when your predecessor, Colin McGrath, was here as well. So thank you, and good wishes to everybody, those standing for election and those who aren't, the lucky ones.
And my final thanks goes to the Vice Chair, John Stewart. I've worked really, really well with him. We were on the Economy Committee together. We clicked there. We liked how each other thought about things, about business and that, and it continued right through to this committee too. And it was great just to have someone to bounce things off and ideas off, and it was great. And obviously I'm kind of new on this committee. I've only been here since October, so the hard lifting was done by my colleague and friend Colin McGrath as well, so I'd like to thank him. My final item of business is to ask members for your approval to approve today's minutes, so that they can be also signed off. Great. So if nobody has any other business, I will adjourn the meeting.
Thank you, Chair.
Thank you.
Thanks, everyone. Thanks, Chair.
Thank
See you
you.
soon.
This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30. This is the Northern Ireland Assembly Committee Room 30.